Greetings and shalom to you if you happen to be a saint. Welcome to the People's Movement Show, a platform in which Guyanese have the liberty, have the courage, and have the strength to engage in discussions that pertain to things that we consider to be of national interest. I'm so happy to know that you've chosen to join this broadcast. And of course, I always like to have an audio-visual check before we commence broadcasts of these natures so that we can all be on the same page, where you are hearing and you're also seeing clearly. So I welcome you to the People's Movement Show. This is where Guyanese across the world and also here at home, we have got the concept or the understanding, the ideology that every elected official and those who have been selected by the party to function in reference to leadership, they must be held accountable. They must be accountable to us, the people, because we happen to be those who pay them if they are paid. Oh, I see SDML here. It's so good to see my daughter with me this evening. Your Wi-Fi would allow you to be here for as long as possible, I hope. Welcome nonetheless to all of you. It's loud and it's clear. Thank you so much. We have, as I said earlier in the post, my brother Jina Raman is back with us. We are once again in the same time zone. So we do not have the constraints we had before with the 5-hour time gap. The People's Movement continues to be a body of Guyanese that is able to function with a significant and noticeable degree of courage. We are unafraid, we are unashamed, we are unhindered, and we are certainly not intimidated by those who serve as leaders in various political sectors of our society. We are prepared to stand at all cost for the betterment of this country. Guyana must function in a manner that is wholesome and that is proper. And for as long as that is happening, we shall be essentially quiet, or we'll be commending those who are causing that to happen. But if there's anything that's untoward, or if there's any conduct as we're seeing so often in our society today, that is unacceptable, you shall hear from us, and we shall continue to speak without fear and without reservation. The People's Movement is blossoming into a group that is really understanding, or demonstrating, I should say, representation. There is a clarion call across this country, even from without our borders, for there to be proper representation of people. Guyanese must be represented in a manner that demonstrates class, that demonstrates understanding of matters, and demonstrates fairness. We are not supposed to be represented by political mantras and political association. We should be represented because we are Guyanese, and we all deserve what is best for us. Therefore, given the abundance of calls being made and the outcry from so many sectors and various people in society, we have got the courage to stand. We have got the responsibility to stand. And we've got the fortitude to stand and represent those who are seeking the same. I'm overjoyed to be joined by our brother Jina Raman, and in the not too distant future, on this said broadcast, our sister Sancho will be here with us to discuss matters that are concerning, especially to women in this country. So much has happened. We have a situation on our hand where a high commissioner in the person of Charrandas Persaud is on video, not audio, video, abusing a female, an Indian woman, in India, in her country, abusing her as though he were authorized, as he was authorized to do whatever he wants to do in India. We have a very unfortunate situation in that Irfan Ali, who's paid to be president of this country at this time, did not see the need to condemn without any degree of variance this dastardly, disgusting act. Instead, Ali sought to make this a show in which Charrandas is not deemed an abuser, but rather one who, just based on his Charandas's viewpoint, he should just come home because it's the best thing to do at this time. When we all have, those of you have seen, video footage of this man being as disrespectful and abusive as he was. But that seems to be the nature of the PPP Civic now, where they are defenders, apparently, of abusive men. I call on every right-thinking Guyanese female to stand in condemnation and to voice your concern, because those who you pay through your taxpayers' dollars, whether you go to buy candy in the shop, whatever you pay taxes for, you're a taxpayer. Whatever you pay VAT on, it makes you a taxpayer. And if you understand the responsibility of leaders in this country, and they are demonstrating at the PPP level such casual displays in reference to such abuse of women, you have a right as a female to speak up and to speak out loudly against this. Charrandas has been recalled, according to Irfan Ali, to Guyana. His services have not been terminated. He was recalled. Recalled to do what? These matters will be discussed here. Then we have another female in the person of Attorney Clark, who was arrested by the Special Organized Crimes Unit, SOCU agent, for telling her client that he doesn't have the right, or he doesn't have to speak to the police. He doesn't have to give any statement. Yet another female, within a week of Charles' video being exposed, or actions being exposed, another female is essentially abused. And Anil Nandalal steps on the scene and issues what I consider to be a statement that made his slip, as they say, show. We'll have that discussion this evening. Let me welcome Brother Jenna to the broadcast. There he is, Jenna Raman himself. Brother, it's good
Yes.
to have you back with us. Go ahead and greet the viewers
Uh,
and our discussion.
greetings, greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be back in Guyana. As you know, I was away. So, greetings to everyone. Shalom, namaste, shalom. Um, good to be here, away from the cold. Um, there's another important issue, brother, that we need to discuss, which is the what this government considers as an open door to United Kingdom, the removal of the visa to go to United Kingdom. It's an important subject matter that we need to address, because I understand that thousands of Guyanese are leaving to go to London. Some of them are already there, perhaps, or trying to go there. So it's an important subject that we should touch on, because it has implications as far as Guyanese nurses in particular, who are being recruited by the United Kingdom administration to work in the United Kingdom, because of more than 100,000 nurses and medical professionals who have resigned from the British Health Service. It's something that we need to talk about, and we need to explain that it's not an open gate to the United Kingdom.
Well, I appreciate that, and we will certainly, should time permit, because we have hopefully quite a few broadcasts to do. So we will certainly engage in that discussion. Um, but I saw, and it's wonderful. I can welcome you. You can be welcomed back onto the platform with certain comments like that of Tony, for example, who said, I hear you. He, being Ali, already condemned him, being Charrandas, by recalling him. He cannot punish, it should be him, he cannot be punished for something that happened in a foreign country. In Granger or Burnham time, he would only be transferred. Now, the people's movement, whenever we function in this capacity, We try our best to educate as best as we can and to inform those who are misinformed or ill informed, like Tony, about matters relating to national issues. First of all, Tony, recalling someone while deeming them innocent essentially is not condemnation. Charrandas was and is still on a video telling a female, a professor of university in India, that she wants the dog to F her and she could put the dog between her legs. If those words are used, of course, without saying F, if that terminology is used by one who's a high commissioner, then obviously, Tony, the condemnation or the condemning remark from Ali would be that we do not support or condone this behavior from anyone in the diplomatic corps. That's how condemnation sounds. And as a result, the news would be bearing the fact that Charandas's contract has been terminated. His services have been terminated with immediate effect. That's how you condemn it. Now, to suggest that Burnham or Granger would have done something different, can you name, Tony, one official in Guyana's history in reference to a diplomat, an ambassador or high commissioner who would have done what Charles did? I'd be happy if you can put that on the screen so we can talk about what would have been what Granger would have done. You speak to what Burnham and Granger would have done. I'd be happy if you can tell me if there's anyone who gave them cause to do what they've said. No, Chandas has done it, and that's the difference. So, my brother Jen, let's speak to this Chandas issue, please, because Irfan Ali is supposed to be a Muslim, and more than that, he's paid to be the president of this country. There's a high commissioner in the person of Chandas
Well,
himself. He's a
my,
female. So let's speak to that, please.
on the question of him being a Muslim, my son will say, he said there are Muslims and there is Islam. So they're two
That's
different
correct.
things. So this sort of a behavior displayed by Irfan Ali of dancing lewd in the public has absolutely nothing to do with Islam. We need to make it absolutely clear that Islam has prohibit that type of public display. You can do it in your bedroom if you want, as done as much as you want. But that public display that he does has absolutely nothing to do with Islam. So I don't think I have the authority to say whether he's a Muslim or not. But you can say, you can describe a person as a good Muslim, as a bad Muslim, or indifferent.
Okay,
You know what I mean? And the same thing you can say about other beliefs. A
correct.
man is a socialist, a good socialist, a bad socialist, and so on and so on. But let's get to the root of this matter. Charanda was part of the conspiracy with the local elite and sections of the PPP in collaboration with US imperialism. Don't forget that. People seem to forget this. So there was a conspiracy to overthrow the Granger Nagamoto administration. No doubt at all. And we have no qualms of criticizing the lack of implementation of policies and the sell-off of our oil by the Granger administration. So we have no defense of any of them who have acted in this way. But the truth
Exactly.
of the matter is what we are interested in is that when, and here is where we have to discuss at some stage the question of democracy. If a government is elected democratically, which the Granger Nagamoto administration were democratically elected, recognized by the same British, European, and American administration, had recognized the 2015 elections as free and fair. Jagdeo was the only one in this country that boycotted that parliament, if you would remember. And so
Yes.
there was a campaign that was carried out by Jagdeo of boycotting the parliament on a serious campaign of sabotage. Meaning, I remember that those periods distinctly, that he told councillors and regional councillors and his officials not to attend any meetings where the president at the time, Mr. Granger, had attended. He gave them
Yes.
clear instructions not to do that because, as far as he was concerned, the elections were rigged and that the government was not legitimate. Now, I say that because we need to be able to get to grips of what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the Ali Jagdeo administration alone. We are dealing with the organ grinder, that is the United States of America, who brought him into power through what they call regime change.
Yes.
So we need to be very clear. Now, for them to have done that, they got Charrandas. This is Charrandas' role. Charrandas was part of a conspiracy because everything was arranged. If we can refresh people's memory, that he he was used by Jagdeo and the establishment and those abroad to get rid of the Granger administration through the form of a no confidence vote. And Charandas was a man who actually was used. And you can see the kind of character he is. It has come to pass that everybody could see the type of low life character could have been used to dismantle a legitimately elected government. And the Americans have no qualm because you will recall it was Mr. Trump's administration who had issued a statement calling on the Granger administration to get off the scene, or else they would have called sanction upon them.
Right.
And we understand from internal sources that they had contingency measures to probably land troops in Guyana to dismantle the Granger administration. So far, and you have to ask yourself the question. Here's the question that everybody has to ask themselves. Why is it that the US administration wanted to dismantle a democratically elected government that they had recognized? Why would they want to support? You saw at the elections, everybody saw the elections. And you and I don't think, I don't have any evidence as to what, as to why, as to whether the elections were rigged and to what extent it was rigged. So we had a situation where both sides are accusing each other of rigging the elections. Yeah,
Correct.
I am not, I and you and many other people are not on any of these sides. We want, there was an election petition and we wanted to hear at the official a special structure that was set up, that is the court, the petition court, to hear what were the evidences that were going to be put forward on both sides as to whether the elections were rigged and who rigged the elections. But we haven't had the opportunity up to now. The Guyanese people have not had the opportunity up to now to hear the evidence. This is supposed to be evidence, not hearsay.
Correct.
And that evidence have not been placed in front of the Guyanese people for them to make that determination whether the elections were rigged or not. The Guyanese people are supposed to be the jurors listening to the case and making a judgment of it. And they have been robbed of that opportunity because the court system, our court system, is as rotten as you can ever think. And those who are making judgments in our situation, the acting Chief Justice, throughout one of the petitions and in fact the other one. And so therefore the Guyanese people had no opportunity, still no have no opportunity to actually listen to the case and make a judgment into a new government. And we're
But
supposed to.
permit me, because I really want us to tap into for the viewers' sake as well, this Charrandas matter, because Charrandas was selected to be the High Commissioner that represents this country. And if he represents this nation, we expect him to conduct himself in a particular manner. Now, my brother, have you, and you're much older than I am, for the record, you are.
I say,
Have you ever had this experience with a diplomat, a representative of this country, behaving in this manner towards anyone, especially a female?
Charrandas, brother, the reason why I gave that background is to show you that this is serious politics. And um, we have to take it very seriously. For them, why is it that they could not have chosen any other member of parliament on the other side to join with to support a no confidence motion put by Jagdeo? What I'm saying
Wow.
is the character that they chose. Everybody could see the kind of person they chose. He has totally exposed himself. When I used to teach at the secondary school, the principal used to say, he said, when somebody show filth in you, you can wash it off. But when you show filth on yourself, which he has done, somebody else have to wash it off for you. So that's the kind
Hmm.
of person Charandas is. I mean, our program would not allow me to use expletive, but that's the kind
I,
of character.
I understand.
So I'm trying my best to demonstrate the rottenness in the system and the people who are to that level to remove a government, a legitimately elected government, that they've gone to great extreme to actually remove that government. And the question is, what have we put in place? They would, if you're expecting anything better from Mr. Charandas and the establishment in particular, I think you are deluding yourself and other people. You're not going to get a diplomat is supposed to be a dignified person. And for them, the question is, why did they send him to India? Why did they send him as an ambassador to India? Why didn't they send him to Trinidad or to
Right,
Barbados
right.
or to Africa? Why? To South Africa or some of the African countries. Why they send him to India? There was a reason for sending, and there's a reason why they send him as a diplomat. Why did they give him a ministerial post?
Correct.
Because he was the cause of them coming to power. So these are things that we need to, as yet, in, there's still information lingering that has not come to fore, that will at some stage, because what is going on is a total embarrassment, and you're going to see if we had a proper opposition, people who had some common sense in their head, we would have had we have gone a far way in getting the kind of information that are necessary. And I think that we need to be able to let the Guyanese understand that what we are discussing here in the people's movement, that we've got to develop a movement to be able to confront the who are running the system. You understand? I mean, what more could we say about rotten fish? Tell me,
Things
what
from the
more
head
could we
first.
say?
It
Exactly,
stings from the head first.
exactly, exactly. The fact that the fact that that the Indian government told them that this man, they cannot recognize this man. India is one of the biggest countries in the world, apart from China,
Yes.
and a developing country of a growth rate of nearly 5 to 7%, is telling them that we don't want this type of character in our country. Are they so shameless not to understand that they should have taken step to sack the man?
Exactly.
And the fact that they have not done that is an indictment, is a further indictment of their collusion of this type of behavior. So,
And
so
I'm,
what?
I'm going to interject because you cited something so significant here. The Sarah Ann Lynch has uttered not a word, as far as I'm aware, in reference to what has happened with Charrandas and this abuse. Dharamlal stood in Parliament and told a female in the person of Natasha Singh, who she was on our show at one time, that she needs a dildo. And this behavior continues to be displayed, and Sarah Ann Lynch cannot condemn. She has not condemned him, and I'm tying in what you're saying, because if there would have been any collusion, any uh, steps taken to remove Granger, then she has got to play her cards right. And it seems as if they're displaying to us here as Guyanese that they are prepared to tolerate and condone any behavior whatsoever that is displayed by these people, even including abuse of females, which I will have to speak to this evening. We must labor on that. The abuse that I'm seeing meted out to women in this country by elements of the PP Civic is unheard of. I mean, in the political offices and in such a public manner. And I really want to touch on that because it shows that if we are speaking about gender-based violence, they like to call it, how could you have elements in the PP civic regime that are displaying such gross degrees of violence? I'm speaking verbally and physical violence against women, threatening language and behavior.
Brother,
So this happened with Charandas. One second, this happened so long ago with Charandas, correct? They say Ali said it, but last August, almost 1 year. And I will do a separate broadcast about this on another time. And you're free to join me. We're given diplomatic protocols. How could there be the High Commissioner, not just a staff member, the High Commissioner, the ambassador, has a matter that the woman made a report to the police, Brother Jenna. If she made a report to the police in India, and he had to, of course, by right, they have to report to the mission in India. So the High Commissioner has to be informed, listen, the High Commissioner is here because somebody leveled a complaint against him. How could Irfan Ali tell me and tell you that all this would have happened in India, and 1 year later is when he discovered Chandas did? Really? So his ambassador will be arrested or brought into the station if not arrested to answer to a charge of assault, sexual assault against a female. And the High Commission in India, the Guyana High Commission, doesn't inform Ali or Todd. Then the High Commission in India doesn't inform the High Commission in Guyana that there's a situation involving the ambassador there, the High Commissioner. And then after 1 year, a video surfaces, and then we hear that Ali is now aware of the situation. They are playing so many games because they are dysfunctional, since, in my view, they were not or they are not prepared to govern this country in a manner that speaks to propriety and decency because of how they got into office. And you're free to speak to that if you want to.
brother, I respect your liberal view sometimes because you seem to have. I know you don't, but the way you which you're expressing, you seem to have. You seem to expect better of them, and I can understand that. But I don't personally expect better of them because of the kind of character who they are, who have no scruples, brother. They have no scruple whatsoever. And we're discussing here. I understand some people were telling you that you shouldn't be involved in politics. I would like to challenge them. Those kind of people who say that you should not be involved in politics, because I wonder what Muhammad was. He set up an Islamic state. Jesus, Jesus Christ, my you don't call him Jesus Christ, but he was fighting in Roman Empire, which occupied the whole of the area where he was born and grew up for centuries, nearly. Um, so those who tell you, you see, when they tell you that you must not be involved in politics, what basically they're telling you that you must not speak for justice, fairness, and equality. That is what they're
Exactly.
telling you. You must keep out of it. But that is one of the most foolish things that I ever heard. coming from individuals like that. And I'm very annoyed about it, particularly women of Guyanese, of African descent. Things are happening, and all they will say, leave it to God, and God will be in charge. God is in charge. And that is why we're here where we are, because they do not want to resist. They don't know their history. We don't know our history. Our history is not taught in school.
Correct.
Today we had a discussion at my house about the resistance, excellent resistance of the people of African descent that freed themselves from oppression. Nobody came from anywhere, from heaven or from anywhere to free them. There are millions of them that were killed in the process of fighting for their freedom. And we need to learn from that. And we need to learn the techniques that they use and the method that they use to defend themselves against the kind of repression that we're seeing in Guyana. All we're hearing from Mr. Aubrey Norton is a bit of press conference here and there, but we're not seeing him going into the community. Guy, you know what? You know what annoys me? They say that this country is an apartheid. Who made it an apartheid? You and
Correct.
I go, and Sister Sanchez, welcome, Sister Sanchez. We can go into any part of Guyana, any part, and talk to the people. In fact, the people who are listening to our program here in Guyana and abroad are people of different races, different age group, and different gender. So we don't. What we're doing here is what we can do in our country, going into the villages. We can do the same thing. So
Correct.
these guys create a situation where they want to separate the people. What we need is national unity. And we're not going to get that under the current leadership of the PNs. That's the problem we
Well,
have. So we can talk
well,
from
we
here
talk too much.
until I don't know
I,
when.
I see Sister Sanchez here with us. Um, she had a hiatus, as one man said, a hyena, but she's here. So welcome, and I'm happy that you're here, Sancho, because so much is happening in reference to the abuse that we're seeing meted out to females. I think Charrandas has been quite glaring. What are your views? First of all, did you see the video?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you greet the viewers, tell us your views as a female. I'm not a woman, and as a man, I think you know my position when a man gets violent against women, what I want to do to him. But you're a female, so what is your thought process when you saw what a high commissioner would have done? I mean, unsurprisingly so, that is.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and it's good to be back. And I'm happy to see that we haven't grown weary, Brother Jenna. I see you look different. Good evening to the listening, our viewers. Wow. It's sad that after being away for a little bit, that this is the first topic that I have to speak on. And like I said, I did see the video, and I think it's downright disgraceful for a father, a husband, a representative or a country, a high commissioner, to be behaving in such a manner. I had to look at the video quite a few times to ensure that what I heard was correct because I was so disappointed in what I heard. And I was one of the persons who would have actually believed Mr. Charrandas when he said, give his reasons as to why he crossed the floor in the last parliament that he sat in. And so to see this now, I now have to wonder if he was honest, because this is not a behavior that is becoming of someone who is supposed to be held in high standard. And so I like to condemn it on behalf of all women. I'd like to condemn any form of abuse, and in this case the verbal abuse and sexual abuse from Mr. Charnas. I'd like to condemn it, and I hope that more women would speak up about it.
Thank you, Sancho. And then we speak to Irfan Ali's response. To have a president, one who's paid to be president, a man who's married, not like Jagdio, who, when his wife left, or who left, whom he's single. This man is a married man, the father of a young boy. And to hear him, I don't know if you heard what he said in his statement, that essentially there was an investigation launched, and there was no substantial evidence that Chandas sexually assaulted this female. Now, you and I saw the video, we're aware of what happened. We would have heard and seen, because Charrandas didn't just say things, he demonstrated what the woman wanted and all the rest of it. Now, what are your thoughts of a president of a country, Ali being paid to be one, seeing, as he confessed, that he saw the video? That's what he said. What are your thoughts on a man of Ali's stature seeing the video, being president, and then essentially saying that based on the report he got, Charrandas is innocent, but he should just come on because it doesn't look good? How do you feel about Ali's response to the situation? And other members of parliament, that is.
I have several thoughts on the matter. First of all, the woman is a Muslim woman that was assaulted. Last time I checked, our president is a Muslim, or so we have been led to believe. Secondly, I really wonder most of the times who are his advisors. They need to be fired. All of them, every last one of them. They need to be fired. And thirdly, as a husband, as a father, I don't know if he has sisters, but as someone who is sitting in the highest office in the land, his first position should have been one of condemnation. He should have condemned his Charandas's action. Now I don't know if he was preview to the video or what was the situation with that there. Regardless of his position, he should have condemned it from the inception. And I think a part of his video, I heard him say, Mr. Charandas is the one who opted to come home or to leave India. That
Exactly.
should not have been the case. It should have been a situation where the president said, look, recall this man stat. We don't care what it is. He needs to be recalled, because this past year I've had the opportunity to sit with quite a few ambassadors and high commissioners, and none of what I saw them demonstrate is anything close to what I have seen from Mr. Charandas. And I am highly disappointed, and I'm sure that the people of this country, that does not represent us. He does not represent us. And again, I'd like to say I condemn him, and I'd like to reiterate to our president, whomever are your advisors, they need to be fired. They are doing a poor job.
And I couldn't be um, possessing a warmer feeling hearing a female of your stature say what you said. And you represent so many women, because all of the women with whom I spoke, all of them, Guyanese, are very upset with Irfan Ali. And I said to elements within the PPC, because I converse with them every so often, that they are in trouble. Because there's a saying way back, women have society. You don't do certain things to women. You do not cross their path in a certain way. And all of the women with whom I spoke are extremely upset at Ali's response, because they said it's one thing for Charandas to do what he did. But it's another thing for Ali to say, for example, the Charandas, there is no evidence to substantiate that he was abusive. Now, what else do you need to see to call it abuse? More than that, to say that Charandas, or basically on his own volition, he's coming home. It's not that he's being called. He decided he's going to come home. So if he said no, what? And I'm beginning to think that Ali has the same advisors that Granger did. Because I always used to say that I cannot believe that Granger has advisors. I always said that. Even when Granger was president, I said, I cannot believe that this man has people advising him. Because the things that would have been happening around him or under his watch are just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we are seriously in danger here. And I am concerned for the well-being of Guyanese women. Of course, there's another incident just before that, where a PPP representative in O.C. Rogers was seen on a record. Of course, the video could not be all that it was, because it's 30 seconds. But at the end of the day, here is a man slapping a woman right here in Guyana. Another agent of the PP Civic. Did you hear Sancha, Irfan Ali, his wife, female members of parliament, uh, condemning this behavior?
I have not seen the video. I heard about it, but I have not seen it. And no, I haven't heard anyone talk about it. And I am perturbed that not only are the representatives not speaking about it, but we have an opposition who I don't understand how they still get paid. They're being paid to represent the people, and they are not doing anything at all. We have an opposition leader who I have no faith in, absolutely none. most of the people that I converse with, especially young people, they have no care at all in the world for voting for the APNU AFC. They do not trust Mr. Norton. They don't care to hear him. He has no presence. No one has any inclination to or any desire to have a conversation with him or even listen to his videos when or his press releases when they're out there. And so I don't know what the opposition is doing and what they're hoping for. As a matter of truth, they're actually aiding the present administration to go back in power because they're doing such a poor job. And I must admit that our president has been making his rounds. But those who've been advising him on that spectrum, they've been doing a good job because he has been having his boots on the ground a lot lately, and the opposition has been making it very easy for another term for the present administration.
All right, thank you. Brother Jenna?
Yes. See, the problem we have in Guyana is that, I mean, our task is to make these people accountable. We're not critical for the sake of being critical. I think we need to let people understand that it it is not our job to oppose for the sake of oppose. So we are not an opposition, and we don't want to be seen as an opposition. You have dialogue with people in the PPP, and in I do too. We have to, as farmers representatives, we have to talk to those who are in the administration, because they are they are elected there or appointed there to manage the people's resource. And we need to emphasize this, that they have been placed like a company at board of directors, and they can be removed at an election. They can be removed even before an election if they are found to be wanting. So our task is to bring these things to the Guyanese people who are unaware, and to analyze them to see how they are moving and what they should be doing. This question of them having advisors, I mean, it's not, advisors are supposed to be professionals. They are not advisors. They are friends and family of these people and party comrades. So they don't listen to them. These people who are advisors are there because they find a job for them and they can find a way in which they can pay them. That's what it is. So let's not give them that credibility of thinking that they have advisors like United States of America and so on. No. They don't have this step. That is not their role. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing
Yes,
me?
yes, we're
Or
hearing you.
something seemed to go wrong with my phone. I thought something here. Yes. So they, they don't have advisors, and even when people who they appoint to in that capacity, they don't take advice from them, because if it doesn't, whatever they are telling them does not fit in with what they want to see happen, they just dismiss them. You know, we
Right.
don't have in this country a situation like, I don't know if you've been following what's happening in United Kingdom, that the
Oh,
Minister
yes.
of Home Affairs, was advised by professionals about actions that she has taken that are against the laws, refugee laws, conventions, and conventions that was signed by the United Kingdom. So she's now being on the ropes and likely to be dismissed, because the matter is going to go to the parliament. And if she's breached ministerial codes, which is to say that she had to follow professional advice, if she's found to be wanting on that, she will be dismissed by the administration. We don't have that same kind of a um, what you call ruling. And even if we do have, as far as diplomatic and ministerial codes of practice are concerned, is not enforced in this country. Both political parties, PPP, PNC, and also AFC, have violated consistently this country's constitution, and nobody is telling them anything. Nobody dare to tell them anything, except people like us who don't depend on them. If you don't depend on them for a living, then you can say what you want to say within limits. But most of our people um, are have to be dependent on handouts, and that's another thing. They keep the people quiet by giving them handouts, as if the money that they're giving them, the cash that they're giving them, it's their personal property. That's
Right.
how they behave. They go into the villages and they give people money, and there's no accountability where the money is coming from. Where it's coming from? Because to spend our money, we need to be able to know how you spend it, who you're giving, and why you're doing that. So it's a lawless society. So if an administration is lawless, look, in the case of the lawyer, by the way, Miss Clark is my lawyer, you know.
Okay.
Case where I was locked up and charged um 2 years ago for a cybercrime act where I posted something on Facebook, and she represented me, so I know her well, and I have to defend her. I haven't done so yet, but I will.
Thank you.
And she's acting. Could you imagine that? And Dandalal is totally embarrassed because he issued a statement, as you had said earlier, and that's another abuse of our women. And it seemed as if the question now that is being asked, who is it that instructed the police to arrest her? Because if the Attorney General is saying that you're wrong in doing that, then who has instructed her? The police commissioner? The Minister of Home Affairs? Who has instructed her to do this? So it seemed to me, if I were to say, there's a split in the administration and there's no cohesion. So for them to take such an action, the police had to get instruction from someone in a very high place in the administration.
And Brother Jenna, that's so critical before Sancho gives her views on that matter, because it's actually about the transition to dealing with Anil and the Attorney Clark situation. Anil issued a press statement after, of course, the outcry. And Anil said that he, upon being called and discovering that Attorney Clark would have been under arrest, he called. Now, Anil Nandalal is the Minister of Legal Affairs, Attorney General. Robeson Ben is the subject minister. Robeson Ben apparently is on vacation from speaking or banned from talking in this country. Because I can see that SOCU, which is an arm of the Ghana Police Force, arrested a lawyer, and Anil Nandalal is instructing the police force to release the woman. That's why I said that Anil has made a slip, or a slip is showing. How could an attorney general instruct police to release people, and the Home Affairs Minister hasn't said a word? Further
No,
to
but
that,
brother,
Anil said that he apologized to
brother,
the woman.
um, brother, none of the politicians are supposed to intervene in a matter like that, because the police force is supposed to be an independent body that does not take instructions from any politician, including the Minister of Home Affairs. So who we have to blame here is the acting commissioner of police. He's in charge of the police force. Somebody he can ask advice to the DPP, but you know who the DPP is, right?
Right.
So we have a problem there. So what Ms. Clark is doing, quite rightly, they are suing the police to take them to court. And Nandalal knows, because it is Nandalal's department as Attorney General, that they will have to go to the court to defend the matter. They have to defend the state.
Right.
Nandalal's official position is an advisor to the state, and that he knows. So he's saying, we need to read through what he's saying. He's saying now that the state is wrong, that is, the police is wrong to actually arrest a woman. He's saying that now. He made up this public statement, which is unprecedented. That Nandalal has come out and made that statement. Actually, he's not instructing the police there. He's he's sending a warning to them that what you all are doing is wrong and that you should correct it. But they can't correct it anymore because
Yeah,
to arrest a
for me,
woman.
according to the hierarchy of home affairs in this country, the commissioner of police is answerable to Robeson Ben, because what's his name, Hicken, acting commissioner, doesn't hang out there by himself and does what he wants. Ben is responsible for home affairs, or what we're going to call it, national security. So if there were anyone who would have had to make a call, it would have been Robeson Ben, who would have had to speak to Hicken, and Hicken is supposed to deal with these people. More than that, the concern that I have is the fact that an attorney general could call a law enforcement officer and say, release somebody who's under arrest. How many other people were not called? See, these are things we have to ask ourselves. If the attorney general could bypass the subject minister, bypass Hicken, and make a direct phone call or receive a direct phone call and instruct the man to say, listen, you need to go. It tells me, Brother Jenna and viewers, that based on this last action, I have a right to conclude that the Attorney General has direct influence over members of the police force. And that is extremely dangerous. Sancho, what are your views?
Wow. These matters of recently are very worrying matters, and they're troubling to citizens, because we are now wondering how many persons, like you rightfully said, weren't called before, and on what grounds. Were they called to be released, or were they called to be locked up? We don't know. And at this point, when the people can't trust you, you're in shambles. And the last time I checked, we were trying to, or the government was trying to have an honest and open communication between the police and civilians. And how are civilians supposed to trust you if in matters like these you hear stuff like Anil Nandalal calling to have her released, which she should not? Based on what I have heard thus far, I don't see, and they haven't published anything to give me reason as to why she should have been locked up in the first place. And again, with these breaches of people's rights, matters should be taken into hand. But like Brother Jenna would have said, we know what the DPP does. And so I am hoping that something comes out of this. I am hoping that she wins based on not just what happened to her, but based on what Mr. Nandalal himself said prior to them even going to court, which is pretty much what Brother Jenna said. The state is wrong. And so I'm hoping that she used all of those to her advantage. She's an attorney anyways, and I hope she win. But we must condemn these acts. We must condemn it at every juncture that we get to, and we must condemn it because it could happen to anybody. We spoke, Brother Jenna, I think, or it's you who spoke about the woman who, or I believe it was on one of the videos I was looking at earlier, who spoke about the woman who was spat on and her case was thrown out. She didn't even get her day in court. And what is going to happen? This is going to continue to happen. It's going to be a cycle. And somebody has got to say something. And again, I say the opposition is very quiet. They come out and speak most of the times when it's matters that has something to do with them. And when they do have the floor, they are not addressing these issues. I saw the vice president put out a video as usual, and the opposition leader had an opportunity to respond to it, but what he did was a tit for tat. And I'm wondering what kind of foolishness. The man said you don't have no plan for the country. What you should have taken that opportunity to tell the country what plans you have for them, rather than be there in a tit for tat based on what the vice president would have said. Nobody wants to hear that. And so again, we're not only in trouble with some of what the administration is doing, but we're in trouble because we have a very quiet, nonchalant opposition.
Well, let me caution you, Sancho. We don't have a vice president in this country. We don't have the U.S. system. Jagdio is position in a manner to make it appear as though he's superior to the first vice president, who's Mark Phillips. Ghana's constitution speaks to the president, then the prime minister, who is by constitution the first vice president. We're not the U.S. So I don't allow Jagger to enjoy that privilege. He could go to the U.S. and have that card played, but not here. All right. He has no position that is constitutionally recognized as, oh, you're just a vice president hanging out there with all this power. So let me caution you. He's not vice president for me, Jagmew, until he respects his position or Mark Phillips' position. But your sentiments are so critical, and the other part is that the lawyer Miss Clark said that when she got there with the client, they were told. Now this one blew my mind. I'm yet to recover from this. The man never spoke to the police. They were told when they arrived on the scene, that day she got arrested, that the statement is finished and he must sign it. Now listen, Sancho. Listen, man. What world do we live in this country where you never told the police anything and you show up to hear that your statement is finished and you must sign it? What did that do to you? Because I can't recover. I'm still in recovery mode right now. I'm trying to recover.
I had to go try to figure out how it's really done, because I've never really had a police matter in terms of signing statements and all of that.
No?
And based on the information, no, I've never had all my life. I've stayed in trouble.
You need a few. I've had quite a few.
So based on the information that I've gathered is that you are supposed to give your statement to the police and then sign off on it afterwards. I was told that there are two cases where you write your own, and there's another part where the police would write based on what you said, but you write your own and you sign. That is what the information that I was given.
Well,
so
it's twofold. Yeah, it's twofold. One, generally the person is unable to write for themselves, then the police can ask you questions. At the end of the day, a statement cannot be made or written by police without your saying anything. The police cannot just look at you and say, okay, then this is what you said, sign it, if I haven't said anything. Okay? And that is what happened in this case, because a statement is just what it is. A statement was given. The man never gave a statement, but they wrote one and say, okay, then sign it, based on what they said, some video interview. And that's where things went downhill from there. Brother Jenna,
because I heard the attorney said that she actually advised her client to not speak. And so if he didn't speak, I'm now wondering how do you have a statement? So that calls for trouble.
It is. Brother Jenna, you're familiar with the attorney. We have so many glaring ills in this situation. And among them is nobody was arrested. So a police officer can break the law, arrest an attorney for following the Constitution, and nonetheless said he issued an apology to the woman. That's it. So should it not have been an arrest? I mean, you were arrested, Jennifer, for writing something on Facebook. This man arrested an attorney for saying what the Constitution
He arrested me.
Allowed.
He came to my house on a Sunday at 10 o'clock and took me with a police van driving at high speed on the side with a siren on, going across the bridge, all with a siren from here right down to the Blairi police station on Sunday morning. Could you imagine that? For something that they regard as a crime. And you know who had introduced that law? Mr. Granger's administration.
Granger.
This cybercrime act. Brother, all of these politicians are guilty of abuse of the people of Guyana. And only when Nigel Hughes made a very important point some months ago, where he said that when an administration comes to office, they make laws against their opponents.
Yes.
And then when they're out of office, the opponent, the other side use it against them. And that's what is happening. Now, It's a violation. The American law, Constitution says that a citizen of the United States of America can quote what is called their right, the Fifth Amendment, which is, as you know, the Fifth Amendment, which gives them the
Right to be
prerogative
silent.
to be silent on any matter. I've listened recently to one of Trump's representatives at the hearing, and he was saying Fifth Amendment must have said it about 50 times. So all the questions they asked him, he never answered it. Never answered any question,
Right.
and so they got
Yeah.
nothing out of it. So what do you do in that kind of situation?
Well, then once you do that, they say you assumed you can be assumed innocent or guilty, and that is why people are encouraged to give statements to the police, because if you say nothing, then in the court they'll tell you, well, the judge will then make a judgment call to say, well, based on what I've heard, you're guilty or you're innocent. But it's safer to make a statement so that you're able to defend yourself according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at the UN, where everyone has a right to be heard and a right to fair trial. But look at this. Let me show you this, because these things I find to be laughable indeed. Tony said that she was not arrested. Your lawyer was not arrested, Gina. She was detained, because an arrest is different from detention. the, how
Who
do these
said
people
that?
get onto Facebook? How? Somebody by the
No,
name Tony and Tony. How? If the police arrest me and put me in a cell, it's called detention. If they put me on a bench, it's still called detention. When the police had me sitting on a bench one time, I was detained. I was arrested because I wasn't free to move. I think that Tony is in dire need of some information to help him to or her to
there's a
understand what things
there's a
mean. So help
difference.
them research.
Yeah, there's a difference between um, the moment the police stop you and they detain you. That is, as you quite rightly said, your freedom to move is curtailed.
You are arrested.
Then you don't have to physically hold a person. You can physically hold a person only if the person want to go, and then you physically, you know, hold a person, and then you can then put a bangle on them and put them in a lockup, depending on the nature of the problem. So we don't
Right. You see,
see.
it's original. You see what happened? People confuse being charged with being arrested. You can be arrested but not charged. As long as
Yeah,
that
you can be
or you are
you can be
and not charged.
according, yeah, according to our constitution, you could be held detained by the police, either put in the cell or sit outside. In my case, they put me in the cell temporarily for about 5-10 minutes. I spoke to the inspector and I started to get off with her and so on, and she bring me out. And I sat the balance of the time, balance of the day with her until I got bail. You understand? So
Mhm.
the laws of this country is about who you know or who know you. It's not about equal treatment or justice or fairness and so on. Our laws do not operate on the basis of that. Our constitution, we we perhaps have one of the largest constitution in this country, and I tell you how many pages it is. I
In
got
the
it in
Caribbean,
front of me.
maybe in the
Uh,
world, maybe
we
one of the
have a
largest
we have a
constitutional.
constitution. We have a constitution of 300, believe it or not, 374 pages. Yeah, sorry, the
Okay.
American the American Constitution not more than 20 pages. United States of America Constitution is not more than 20 pages.
Just a few
We have
pages.
373. And those rights within that, the Guyana Constitution, are daily being violated by whoever is in the administration of justice. And you know, some of these things need to be discussed because you can see and read the level of ignorance among people, and you can't blame them because our constitution, I don't know if you remember that when in our curriculum, the British used to have a subject matter called um, constitutional law, where every
No.
student used to study the British Constitution. right? The
Wow.
British Constitution on constitutional matters. Ask anybody, your father, and he'll tell you. Um, but we don't. None of this is in our school curriculum. So what are we educating our people to become citizens and to manage our country, their country, and they don't know what their rights are, and what they should do or not do. So how are we going to have a civilized and lawful society when people don't know what the law is? You break the law, break all the laws, traffic laws, laws that governs relationship between man and woman, children and father and mother, and these type of things, family law. So none of these things are discussed. So we need a complete change in our education system, a complete change. I mean, this kind of program that we're having is one forum where we're able to interface with our people, and they are able to talk to us and so on, and so we get a feedback. But where else, except Sharma, Mr. Sharma, who has a television program, we are not even allowed to debate and discuss on any television like how you can do in United Kingdom, where a minister has to come to the television station and be questioned by people, questioned by them, not only in Parliament, but in all. They have to come to the television station, and the journalists can question them, or people can call in and ask them questions. That doesn't happen here.
I believe that a part of constitutional reform, as Anil is working on talking about constitutional reform, it should be that in order for anyone to be president in this country, you have to participate in at least 3 debates, nationally televised, live streamed. You have to. You have to go to the three counties. There will be town meetings, and they must be allowed to ask questions by people in the public, and they must debate in order for you to be president of this country. Why? Jaglio with Desmond Hoyt, coward. He trembled. He never wanted to debate Hoyt publicly. With Corbyn, he didn't debate either. So Jaglio avoids at all costs engaging certain minds in our society. Ramatar definitely would not go to debate with these people. Um, and Granger, while he was in office, never sought to really have these things brought to the fore. Gandhi should not just show up to vote for anybody. They should be made to answer to us publicly before they're elected. The typical person before they are employed would have to attend an interview. Do we ever interview our politicians? In reference to presidential candidates? No, we don't. They walk around the place and shake your hand and give you the children candy to eat and then say, okay, then right, mommy, I like him, vote for him, he's president. We should have as a part of our law, I say again, debates that are public and publicized. And you'll see what happens, how many people will decide they want to run for office in this country. So I strongly support that. All right. Also, we should have what I call to be character references for persons who want to be president. Like if finally, for example, if you're facing 19 fraud charges, you have to go to the court and be cleared by the court before you can be an independent president. That's the kind of position I hold, because our country must be restored to decency and integrity. People must have respect for us as people in this country. In the US, you see people would say that, oh, what's his name, George Bush smoked weed when he was in college. Obama took a puff of weed, and that's a big national debate because they're saying that you have to have an absolutely clean slate to be president. Now, I don't hold that view. I'm saying that at least you have to have some degree of upright standing. You should not be having 19 fraud charges in the court, and the DBP say, well, okay, then since you're president, we're going to discontinue the case. That is unacceptable. So these are things that I would encourage all gangs to stand front to fight for, because we have to have a better quality in reference to the image of our leadership in this country. So with that said, I know that we can be here forever, but I'm one of those who, like you, have so many things in the sunshine. As a woman who wears 75 different hats nowadays, I think she's beginning to take them off gradually. Brother Jenny, you're back, and I think we now have got to kick into some serious gears here, since persons are demanding, not even asking anymore, I don't know many of you all face it, but I face the brunt probably of demands that the people's movement has to represent us. And so we need to begin to do that which is necessary to represent the people. What I would suggest and make announced now is that in short order, we'll be announcing to you what would be our ideas in reference to areas that we like to see improve in this country. It's called a manifesto, whatever you want to call it. But we want to show what are some of the suggestions we have for improving Guyana. And that is so important for us to say as a people, moving this nation forward. What are the things that we'd like to see? We don't have any, it's not a lodge. There's not a secret service we have here or the Mason. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to present to all that the ideas we have as a movement for better governance in this country. So with that said, I'll give Jenna a minute, 60 seconds for your closing remarks. I haven't forgotten about the UK discussion, but that needs to be on a broadcast in itself to show the change as to how these people have strategized. And I've said it a while, but Jenna, I don't know if I met you yet, but I said it that actually I didn't meet you when I said that. That as long as the oil begins to flow in the right way and oil money begins to be pumped in the right way, I promise people that the US, the UK, Canada will remove any visa requirement for Guyanese because it's an easy way to lure you out of your country, and persons, some of them begin to sell their land so that they could get a chance to travel to the UK. People are that crazy. They begin to give up. Oh, I'll sell 2 acres of land to somebody so I can travel and have a vacation with my family. And we are already beginning to lose land as Guyanese. People are unable to live in certain neighborhoods in Georgetown. As I speak to you, they cannot afford it. Even the middle class can't afford to rent a 2-bedroom house in certain parts of Georgetown right now. Even a 1-bedroom apartment. So it's upon us already. Brother Jenna, your closing remarks before we leave, and you'll be followed by the pretty
I want to
lady.
remind. Yes, I
Almost said
want
she
to remind.
so pretty.
Huh?
Yes, my
I want
brother,
to
go ahead.
remind. I want to remind people that the local government elections are going to be held sometime around next year, to next year March. And we need to get people seriously. We can't really make changes if we don't participate in the structures of society. And that's where we need to start at the lowest level. So people need to put forward themselves for standing at the local government elections in the area where they live. So we need to provide a number for them to call us and then give us their details and let us arrange a Zoom meeting so that we can actually take this process as quickly as possible to formulate a structure where we have different people standing. We certainly are going to stand in our area where we live on the lower west coast of Demerara. And so therefore, we need to begin to work on this. And people need to contact us. So I don't know if we can provide a number for them to call us, and then we can then take their details. Because the last time we tried to, people came on, but they didn't give their details, so we weren't able to contact them again. So I don't know if you can look into that.
We shall, and thank you so much. As I said, we'll be having necessary meetings and engagements so that we can move forward. I would hope that Sancha can represent in her area, so that we can actually move forward as the movement and give proper representation or the necessary representation. Because the one thing I know is that we would be heard because we'd be speaking and we'd be highlighting that which has to be highlighted. Additionally, we would not be taking sides, we take principles. So I don't care about APNOC and PVP, I care about how Guyana is governed, and we'd be standing for good governance. So there's nothing called sellout in our book here. Because I believe that it's time for us to rid ourselves of these two entities that have served to really destroy a very healthy society if they don't exist. So, Sancha,
Thank
your
you.
final word.
I never thought in my entire life that I would be even interested in politics. It is something I had stayed very far from throughout my life just because of the nature of the game. And then I was fortunate to meet a gentleman who was a campaign manager for one of our sistering countries. And that person is currently the president. They were successful. And him and I, we had several conversations back and forth. And he reminded me of the importance of actually being able to step from the outside to the inside to be able to share and give of yourself rather than stay on the outside and just assume that people will know what they need to do. And so with that and my conviction of the people in my community need help, and we're not being helped by the people who are we consider ourselves a particular stronghold. Those people aren't helping us. As a matter of truth, those people are some of the very reasons why we aren't getting some of the help that we should get receiving. And so with that, I am happy to say that this is now something of great interest to me, and I haven't taken it lightly. I've been making quite a few connections based on this newfound passion, and we're hoping for exactly what you said, Apostle, constitutional reform, as that is the most important step as we move forward as a nation.
Well, thank you. And so I just saw that we have, or someone reminded us that we have until the 21st of November to register our symbols. And so we should move ahead with that, Sister Sancha, so that the symbol of the People's Movement can be registered, lest we find ourselves being unable to represent even at the local level. So those who are so concerned, I say again, and are fearful, as you are, about what will become of the People's Movement in reference to what we'll do, well, don't be afraid anymore. Because many persons have asked, politicians have asked me, what happened? What would you do? What are you planning doing? Are you going to run? One actually threatened me and said, if we'll entertain you now, but if ever you decide to run, as they said, we'll treat you differently. And I said, that's a threat. You can't tell me that if I decide to enter any what's called a political race to lead the country, you treat me differently. What would you do to me? The most you do is kill me. And that's my position and my mentality. So we don't function by fear in the People's Movement. We function by representation or responsibility. So again, thank you so much, Brother Jen and Sister Sancha, for sharing here with us. I would also like to say that first of all, we cannot have in our country a list that even the Carter Center in their corrupt ways have said does not represent the true official list of electors. And that's important for us to take note of. If we are going into an election with a list that does not represent truly the demographics of Guyana, we are already in trouble as a nation. We have to join the call, because I remember that the PPP Civic and Apneus here talking about all these reforms. The most simple thing to reform is a voters list. We need to know exactly who's qualified and eligible to vote. We're not going to, I would not subscribe to being a part of anything that has so much before you even enter into it. There's so many issues that would cause chaos. So we're calling on those who have the authority and the means, address this voters list matter. It has to be repaired. Something is wrong, and someone is benefiting greatly from a voters list that is inaccurate. That has to be fixed before we talk about election. I don't even know how GCOM could say that they're ready for election with a voters list that says we have 660,000 eligible voters. I mean, so we only have 100,000 children in Guyana that are 18, 17 and younger. Think about it. So thank you so much, and I appreciate the time I spent with you all. Do well, and we shall meet again. I look forward to sharing with Brother General Sancho and the other members of the core committee of this group, and also extending invitations, as I plan to do, to others. Because this is time where we are going to demonstrate as the People's Movement the ability to interact with persons across the political divide. Guyana has to see that that's normal behavior. It should become normal for us, I should say, where you don't have to be in the same political party to have a conversation. Neither do we have to agree with each other to have a conversation. So I will seek to have conversations with those from the PPC, those from AFC. We will seek to engage all groups, even those from WPA, TUF, whatever you are. We want to have engagements with you, even those who are apolitical, to show Guyanese that we can engage in healthy debates, in healthy disagreements, and yet have the same love, hopefully, for our country. So, with that, I bid you all shalom if you're saints, and good night. Do well until I see you again.